Level 1. The recruit. You're 19. You didn't apply for this. You were selected. A plain envelope arrives at your university dorm. No return address. Inside, a single typed line. Report to Building 7, Langley Annex. Monday, 6 a.m. You show up. 30 others are already seated. No one speaks. A man in a grey suit walks in, sets a folder on the table, and says, "Most of you will wash out. That's not a threat. It's a courtesy." Training begins the next morning. You run 5 miles before sunrise. Then you sit in a room and memorize cover identities, names, birthdays, schools, habits, for people who don't exist. At night, instructors wake you at 2 a.m. and interrogate you about your cover. Not your real name, your cover. If you flinch, if you hesitate, if you answer as yourself, you fail. 1 week in, the man to your left calls you by your real name at dinner. Out of habit, he's gone by morning. You learn fast. Your real name is a liability now. You bury it. 12 weeks later, you pass. No ceremony, no handshake. Just a new file with a new name inside it. Your first identity. Your first death. You don't feel pride. You feel the ground shift beneath you. In this world, the moment you stop becoming someone else, you become a target. Level 2. The field trainee. You're 21. You're sent to Berlin. It's 1978. The wall still stands. The city is split down the middle like a wound that never healed. West Berlin glitters. East Berlin exhales grey smoke and silence. Your cover is a West German graduate student studying economic policy. Your real job is to observe a Soviet cultural attaché named Dmitry Volkov. His routines, his contacts, his vulnerabilities. You sit in cafes. You read newspapers you've already memorized. You watch. One afternoon, Volkov takes a different route home. You follow. He stops at a bookshop on Fasanenstrasse, lingers at a shelf, leaves empty-handed. That evening, your handler asks for your report. He went to a bookshop, you say. Which shelf? Your handler asks. You didn't note it. Your handler sets down his coffee. In this work, he says quietly, the detail you don't write down is the one that gets someone killed. You go back the next day. The shelf holds political philosophy texts, but one has been moved. A hollow copy of Kant's Critique of Pure Reason. Inside, a dead drop. You report it immediately. An extraction team handles the rest. You never learn who was inside that book. You're not supposed to, but for the first time, you understand. Surveillance isn't watching people. It's reading the silence between their movements. Level 3. The deep cover operative. You're 26. You disappear. Not from a mission. From your own life. Your new identity is Marco Reyes, a Colombian-born shipping logistics consultant based in Medellin. You've been building this cover for 2 years. You have an apartment, a landlord who likes you, and a barista who saves you the corner table. Your mission: infiltrate a cartel-connected import network funneling precursor chemicals across the Panama border. You attend dinners. You shake hands. You laugh at jokes you find repulsive. You eat with men who have ordered murders the way others order meals. 6 months in, a man named Esteban Restrepo pours you a whiskey and says, "Marco, I think you are ready to meet the others." You smile. You say, "I've been waiting." Inside, something in you goes very quiet. You've read about this moment in training, the psychological threshold, the point where the cover stops being a costume and starts becoming a second skin. You write in your encrypted log that night, "I'm not sure which of us sat at that table tonight." You don't send it. You delete it. Because that thought, that honest, fragile thought, is the most dangerous thing you've produced in 6 months. Deep cover doesn't break you with fear. It breaks you with comfort. Level 4. The handler. You're 31. You're pulled from the field. 3 years. Undercover. A ruptured network. 14 arrests. 2 informants relocated. You're given a commendation no one outside the building will ever read. Now you run agents. You sit in embassies and safe houses across Vienna, briefing men and women who look the way you used to look. Eager, certain, unbroken. You manage 4 active assets, one inside the Russian GRU, one embedded in a Syrian arms procurement channel, one reporting on Hezbollah financial flows out of Beirut, one in a North Korean delegation in Geneva. You know their covers. You know their stress levels. You know their sleep patterns from the tone of their reports. And then one goes silent. Your asset in Beirut, codename Cardinal, misses 2 check-ins, then 3. You escalate. You wait. You build contingencies. On day 11, a local contact sends a single word through a cutout channel. Compromised. You don't know if Cardinal is alive. You may never know. That night, you stare at the ceiling of your Vienna apartment and run every decision you made in the last 4 months. Every instruction, every delay, every word you chose. In the field, you only risked yourself. Now you understand what real weight feels like. It's someone else's life in your hands. Level 5, the station chief. You're 37. You run the Ankara station, Turkey, 1994. A bridge between East and West that both sides want to control and neither fully trusts. The CIA, the BND, the Mossad, Russian SVR, all operating within 50 kilometers of each other, with polite official smiles and private hostility. You manage 12 officers. You coordinate with Turkish intelligence when it suits both parties. You report directly to Langley twice a week. The work is no longer clandestine meetings in parking garages. It's bureaucracy with classified headers, budget allocations, personnel reviews, diplomatic cables that say one thing in plain text and another thing between the lines. A senior officer under your command, sharp, reckless, effective, begins running an unauthorized contact. A Russian defector who walked in off the street in Ankara. She hasn't reported it up the chain. You find out through a routine signals review. You have 2 choices: report her to Langley and end her career, or bring her in quietly and absorb the risk yourself. You call her in, close the door. You have 48 hours, you tell her, to either formalize this contact or terminate it. Because if Langley reads it before you report it, I can't protect you, and I won't try. She formalizes it. The contact produces 2 years of valuable intelligence on SVR operations in the Caucasus. Langley commends the station. Her name is on the commendation, not yours. You understand something now about leadership. Sometimes the best thing you do is the thing that never gets attributed to you. Level 6, the counterintelligence chief. You're 43. You come home to Washington. Your job now is to find the mole. There is one. There has been one for 18 months. 3 assets in Eastern Europe have gone dark. A surveillance network in Shanghai was burnt. An extraction route used only by senior officers was compromised before anyone walked through it. Someone inside is selling the architecture, not individual operations, the structure itself. You build a team of 6. You tell no one outside the room what you're looking for. You create false trails, intelligence that doesn't exist, and feed different versions to different senior officers. Then you wait. 11 weeks later, a fragment of one false trail surfaces in a Russian intelligence assessment, intercepted by NSA signals. You trace the thread. The officer is a 17-year veteran, respected, decorated, has a daughter in college and a mortgage in McLean, Virginia. You sit across from him in a windowless room on a Tuesday afternoon. He knows immediately why he's there. He doesn't deny it. How long, you ask? 4 years, he says. You sit with that. 4 years. 3 dead assets. Dozens of compromised operations. A family that doesn't know who he was. And yet, he was in your building, at your briefings, shaking your hand. You understand something cold and permanent. The enemy doesn't always come from the outside. Sometimes they sit in the chair next to yours and ask how your weekend was. Level 7, the Deputy Director of Operations. You're 49. You oversee every covert operation the agency runs. Not strategically, not in broad strokes, specifically, operationally. You read the raw intelligence. You authorize high-risk insertions. You sign documents that will never be declassified in your lifetime. There is no field anymore. There is only the decision room. A joint operation with British MI6 in Karachi identifies a network moving stolen Pakistani nuclear material toward an Iranian intermediary. The window to interdict is 72 hours. The Pakistani government has not been informed, cannot be informed. Your asset inside their intelligence service confirms the network has penetrated at least one ISI directorate. To act, you authorize an operation on Pakistani soil without their knowledge. An act that, if exposed, could fracture one of the most fragile intelligence partnerships in the world. You brief the director. You brief the national security advisor. Nobody tells you what to do. They look at you. You authorize it. The operation succeeds. The material is intercepted. No casualties. The Pakistanis are quietly notified afterward with a curated version of events. No one writes a story about it. No one holds a press conference. You go home that night and sit in your kitchen and eat reheated pasta and watch the news report on something else entirely. 3 lives were at risk on the ground tonight. Because of a decision you made at a table this morning, you don't sleep well. But you don't regret it either. That ambiguity, you've come to understand, is not a weakness. It's the price of clarity at this level. Level 8. The director. You're 54. You are confirmed by the Senate on a Thursday. By Friday, you will have already inherited 3 crises. The agency has 21,000 employees. You know perhaps 40 of them by name. The rest are files, directorate headings, and budget lines. You brief the president every morning at 7:15. You sit in the situation room. You are asked to give certainty where your profession trades only in probability. A signals intercept suggests a foreign government has developed a cyber weapon capable of targeting US financial infrastructure. The intelligence confidence level is 62%. That means 38% of the time, it's wrong. The Secretary of Defense wants to treat it as confirmed. The National Security Advisor wants more time. The President looks at you. You say, "We act as if it's real, and we're wrong. We've spent resources. We don't act, and we're wrong. The consequences are asymmetric. I recommend we treat this as a credible threat." The President nods. Countermeasures are deployed. The cyber weapon, as best as anyone can determine, is never activated. Whether it was deterred or never existed or was a sophisticated deception operation, you will never know with certainty. A senator calls it a waste of public resources. You say nothing publicly. You have learned that at this level, success is usually invisible and failure is always loud. The gap between those two things is where you live now. Level 9. The advisor in exile. You're 59. A new administration comes in. They want their own director. That is their right. You are thanked in a private ceremony. Given a flag. Escorted out of the building you entered 37 years ago as a 19-year-old with an envelope and no idea what was coming. You were offered a fellowship at a university. You teach a seminar on intelligence ethics to graduate students who ask earnest questions about moral frameworks. You answer carefully, because you know that every moral framework sounds clean in a classroom and looks different at 3 a.m. when an asset is in danger and the decision is yours alone. Former colleagues call occasionally for advice, for context, for the kind of institutional memory that doesn't appear in any declassified document. You give it freely, because the work doesn't stop mattering when you stop doing it. One evening, a student asked you, "Was there ever a moment when you doubted whether it was all worth it?" You think about Cardinal, about the mole in McLean, about the Karachi operation, about the names in files that never became public. "Every day," you tell him, "and every day I concluded it was. Because the alternative was letting someone else make those decisions who cared less about getting them right. He writes that down. You wonder if he understood it. You wonder if you do. Level 10, the forgotten architect. You're 67. Your name appears nowhere. Not in the histories written about the Cold War's final decade. Not in the Senate Intelligence Committee reports. Not in the memoir of the president you briefed every morning for 3 years. The operations you ran, the networks you built, the catastrophes you quietly prevented, exist only in classified vaults that will not open for another 30 years, if ever. A journalist publishes a book about the agency, your era, your operations. Your name does not appear once. You read it in one sitting. The journalist got some things right. Most things are simplified. A few things are dangerously wrong in ways that no longer matter. You don't correct the record. You were never supposed to be part of the record. On a Tuesday in October, you drive past the original headquarters building in Langley. You don't stop. There's nothing to stop for. Your badge was deactivated years ago. The officers working inside don't know you. They're running their own operations, making their own impossible decisions, building their own invisible architecture. You think about that. 19-year-old who opened an envelope and showed up on a Monday morning, not knowing what he was walking into. He wanted to matter. You did matter. Just not in any way the world will ever be able to confirm. And somewhere along the 37 years between that Monday morning and this Tuesday afternoon, you made peace with that. Because the work was never about the credit. It was about whether the thing you protected still stood. It does. That's enough.